What's up, wrestling fans? Two Bros Wrestling Show coming at you through the power of magic and wrestling, I guess. What's happening, Kevin?
I cannot improve on that introduction. I mean, magic and wrestling. What more could anyone want?
Of course, some would say I'm being redundant when I say magic and wrestling because we all know wrestling is magical.
And that is what we're here to talk about, the magic of wrestling. In particular, our main event is if you find champions magical, we have a whole night of them coming your way. Actually,
Ooh.
It really should be called Afternoon of Champions because it's on like 1 o'clock in the afternoon here in the U.S. But that's for later on in the main event. When we talk about what is going to happen next weekend with King and Queen of the Ring, some big matches on tap. We are giving our preview and our predictions. But before we do that.
Ooh. Is there news? Is there news?
If there's an opening bell.
There we go.
There's news. The biggest news, I suppose, we should address is the Hulk Hogan did not die.
What?
Did you not hear any of these rumors this week?
I missed this. Was Hogan dead for a while this week? Were the interwebs
rumors
around?
It spread like wildfire that Hogan was on death's door. This all comes courtesy of Bubba the Love Sponge making comments that his sources told him that Hogan's family and friends were being called in to say their goodbyes. It is true that Hogan is recovering from yet again another back surgery. But Eric Bischoff, as among other friends of Hogan's, took to the interwebs to debunk the claims that Hogan was in dire straits, that he was in fact had done well, came out of the surgery good, expected to make a full recovery. I guess it probably should be noted the source, right? Because for those who do not know Bubba the Love Sponge, Hogan and Bubba were very close friends at one point in time. They were besties, but then it was Bubba who ended up leaking the Hogan sex tape that caused that big scandal, as well as the lawsuit with Gawker. The scandal not being the sex tape as much as it was the fact that during the sex tape, which by the way, was with Bubba's wife.
And Bubba was cool with that part, right?
Bubba was cool with that part.
Yeah, that's
what people weren't cool with was Hogan using the N-word all throughout the sex tape, because that's what you do when you have sex with your best friend's wife. As I'm saying, the Hulk and Bubba relationship is complicated. Maybe we just put it like that.
I think that's good. Yeah, maybe we should just move on to our next story. Hogan's alive.
Hogan's alive.
Bubba. The Love Sponge, not Ray Dudley, but Bully Ray is also alive. Okay, I'm just gonna shut up. What else is going on in the news?
Well, we'll go from who is alive to who is injured. How about that? That's sort of adjacent. And I hate injury news. Part of the game, part of this business that we have to talk about. It's obviously our least favorite part is to talk about injuries, but obviously anyone watching Raw saw that weird. Just unfortunate, freakish accident. Yeah, Liv Morgan is the latest. I don't know what it is lately with Raw women's division. It seems like bad things happen in the women's division on Raw.
And it's interesting. I think the common thread is Kyrie, isn't it?
All Kyrie did was do a simple takedown. I mean, this wasn't a complex move. It was just falling absolutely the wrong way. And when I say absolutely the wrong way, is that the word is that it could not be a worst case scenario for Liv Morgan as far as what happened. A simple takedown, braced herself, fell wrong, severely dislocated her shoulder. Initial word has her out for possibly as long as 6 months over this.
Mm-hmm. So I watched Stevie Richards break this down. It's not even like she fell wrong. Stevie's watched it from like multiple angles, slowed it down, sped it up. She fell absolutely right. It's just some freakish way. There's no way to explain it. She landed the way she was supposed to. So obviously, weird.
Not only is it just a terrible injury, it's terrible timing. You have Evolution 2 coming up, and Liv was obviously primed to have a very high profile match with the returning Nikki Bella. So WWE, I'm sure, does not want to waste the opportunity to use Nikki. They will have to pivot to some other storyline for her. And kind of last minute, that would have been one of your headline matches for sure. So best wishes to Liv, obviously, very talented. And just hate that for her. While we're talking injuries, TNA star Elijah, formerly Elias in WWE, he was injured during his match on NXT television this past week. He tore his tricep during the 6-man main event. The lead ringside physician for TNA was actually at the show and assisted NXT medical staff. So he has already had surgery, supposedly successful surgery to repair the tricep injury. No word yet on how long Elijah will be out of action. Let's do a segue out of injuries, but let's just keep talking about TNA.
Okay. I like
this
TNA.
Is good news after all the bad news, right? If you don't have access as part of your cable or streaming package and you're budget conscious and therefore do not subscribe to TNA Plus, we've got some good news on ways that you can now keep up, at least for a while, on TNA Impact. First run episodes of TNA Impact are available now on their YouTube channel for a limited time. The episodes are dropped one day after they air on Access. That means you can watch on Fridays, beginning at 6, so you're done before SmackDown. The catch is the stream is good for only 24 hours after that. After the YouTube premiere ends, it's 24 hours. So essentially you have until Saturdays at 8 to watch. It's probably only a summer run, they haven't said, but it really is good timing because they are so closely aligned right now with NXT. The storylines kind of bounce back and forth between the shows. You can get a more complete picture now, and I've definitely enjoyed it. Capitalize on it while you can. Speaking of SmackDown, maybe some not so great news here when it comes to SmackDown. And that's because we're ending the month of June and we're still watching 3-hour SmackDowns. It was intended that this was temporary only through actually now. The anticipation was we were going to go back to 2-hour SmackDowns in June. Instead, USA has opted to keep that 3rd hour, even though WWE does not receive any extra money by producing a 3rd hour, which I actually found surprising. What it really is that with cable ratings down across the board, SmackDown is by far the most watched show on all of USA Network. And so if we can get an extra hour out of that, USA is taking it. There could possibly be a light at the end of this tunnel, though. It also came out later on in this week, a new series that is debuting on USA on August 15th, and the scheduled debut time is 10 p.m. That means that we maybe only have, hopefully, fingers crossed, 2 more months before we can mercifully return to 2-hour SmackDowns.
That's wow. It's a long summer.
It's a long summer and a long show. Not 4 hours AEW kind of long, but 3 hours.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
One more bit of programming news. Last month, we let you know that the Roku channel was launching Wrestling Central, featuring NWA and Women of Wrestling programming. At the time, we didn't know the when. Well, now we know the when. The time is now. If you have the Roku channel, if you don't have it, you can download the Roku channel. It's an app available across most of the devices. Tune in to channel 208 in the United States and Canada for 24/7 NWA and WOW content. As we reported last week, the Roku channel will be the exclusive home to new episodes of the NWA's flagship show, NWA Power, beginning July 29th. Safe to assume that Power will be airing on the Wrestling Central channel on 208. So all good things there for fans of the NWA, and more wrestling, Doug, for you to add to your watch list.
Yes, that list that gets longer, but yet my viewing time does not seem to free up any. I'm working on it.
Somebody else that's working on it, Doug, and maybe he can provide some more wrestling for you to watch.
Oh, great.
Your favorite person, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. For all those worried Vince is trying to get back in the wrestling business, well, then this next story will not make you feel any better about that. It's obvious the old man wants to get back in promoting something. So this comes from the president and founder of the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship League, who said this week that Vince had made an offer to buy the Fight League. He also called Vince a great guy, so make of that what you will. But there is little doubt in my mind that Vince wants back in the promotion game. As for the offer he made to the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, they turned Vince down, just saying that they appreciate it. The timing just was not right for them to sell.
I think it was Meltzer that was recently talking about how Vince is not going to do like any sort of indie wrestling promotion or anything like that because he's just too super villain global domination minded, and to start out like with some indie promotion and build back up is just not in the cards for Vince. So that'll keep him out of wrestling, but apparently not other wrestling adjacent things like bare knuckle.
And the thing is that Vince got his hands on a already existing promotion where he didn't have to go for the ground up, whatever that would be. I think Vince seems to, and this is just opinion, but if these stories, obviously, the more we hear of things like this, he is sniffing around. And the fact that you have people willing to go public talking about what a great guy he was, the timing just wasn't right. Unfortunately, even with all of his baggage and everything that's still going on with his sex trafficking case, there may be a level of forgiveness in the business world that no longer has the same stench that Vince would have had just a year ago, which, I mean, time will tell. But when you're talking about what a great guy Vince is and how you appreciate the offer and things, it's like maybe Wall Street is forgiving him when fans and decent human beings perhaps have not.
If there's money to be made, I guess money's going to be made.
And Vince will find his way in the middle of it if he can.
Yep.
We'll keep you updated on that. I'm going to have 3 more stories here. I'll end with a happy too, so we'll go with the sadder one first. But that was the fact that yesterday, family and friends and even fans apparently were invited. They gathered to attend a memorial service in Lansing, Michigan for the late Sabu, who passed away tragically at the age of 60 last week. Rob Van Dam was the one who delivered the eulogy, which would have been interesting, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
A celebration of life is scheduled for this week at the old ECW Arena on Wednesday.
All right. Nice.
Last week, we reported that indie wrestler Alex Windsor had been signed to AEW. And this week, we can report Alex has tentatively signed on for life with Will Ospreay. Ospreay popped the question, and the two are now engaged. So thank you, Tony Khan, I suppose, for this engagement.
Just, bringing young kids together. God bless that, Tony Khan.
Making travel schedules easier so that Will can pop the question. And finally, if you've been injured in an accident or want someone fighting for you in your pending divorce, then what would be better than having a beast on your side? Well, soon you can, as the Beast Mortos has passed the bar and in a few months will be a practicing attorney.
That is so awesome.
This is 100% legit. Even though the man apparently does not know how to verbalize or speak English, apparently he can pass the bar and become a lawyer.
See, I thought we were going with it. Batista is becoming a lawyer, but this is even better than Batista becoming a lawyer.
Would you not want to have the Beast Mortos on your side with the big chains through his nose?
Did you see him walking in the courtroom in a suit and that head?
I mean,
that is awesome.
This is a great news. So congratulations to the Beast Mortos, who I guess probably should just be congratulated alone for being the significant other of Mercedes Moné. That's no small achievement there either.
So true.
And now he's an attorney. So, winning the game of life is the Beast Mortos, apparently.
Indeed. Wow.
And with that good news, maybe that's a better transition, right?
I think we should maybe just stop the show with that and call it a night. I mean, whatever we do next, whatever we say next, not going to top that at all.
I had to read it twice. I'm like, you're kidding me. Beast Mortos is a lawyer? Yeah, Beast Mortos is an attorney.
That is so awesome. So awesome. Beast Mortos, attorney at law. That is an Adult Swim cartoon.
Oh, man. Good news all the way around.
Yep.
Maybe before we go into the main event, this one little bit of news, as it does pertain to Night of Champions. We are talking Night of Champions in our main event tonight. Our preview of it. But, that magical world of wrestling that Doug talked about at the beginning of our show, sometimes this real non-magical world will encroach upon it. So maybe one more news item that I did not add in, but it is just the fact of the world we live in, the geopolitical landscape and everything that's happened the last couple of days.
The last 24 hours.
Yeah, we have an escalating situation in the Middle East, open war in the Middle East. And so it is something that has already been asked about what this means for WWE. Because they are doing SmackDown in addition to doing Night of Champions, you are having a longer travel schedule, more time in the Middle East. They are monitoring the situation. They are supposedly full steam ahead, that they feel confident that Saudi Arabia is secure and that they are safe. And that at this point in time, though they're monitoring the situation in preparation, I suppose, for a larger outbreak of the expansion of aggressions into other areas of the Middle East. Right now, they do not anticipate that what's happening between Iran and Israel will change their plans at all. Again, that is the unfortunate real world situation that is trying to encroach upon our fake magical world of pro wrestling that we're now going to get back into. With that as the backdrop, that is part of what happens when you, venture into the Middle East, is that unfortunately these things can become a situation. But WWE has a very packed card for this particular iteration of their visit to Saudi. Doug, we're going to talk all about it. We have a few matches that aren't completely solidified, so we get to do some double duty in predicting who's going to be in those matches. As well as who's going to actually win them when they occur next Saturday. Again, afternoon here. Don't get fooled by Night of Champions and think that you can tune in and watch live at night. It is Afternoon of Champions. That's 1 Eastern time in the United States. If you were watching here on the East Coast, obviously where you are, that's wrong. I'm watching at night. I'm not tuning in at 1 in the afternoon probably, but hey, if you want to see it live,
you're keeping it real, right?
I'm keeping it real. I'm making it a night. We do have a lot of title matches and a lot of consequential tournament finals, Doug. Let's start with the title matches before we move on to the bigger matches. The WWE Intercontinental Championship is on the line. You have Dirty Dominic Mysterio defending his title against the legendary AJ Styles. Doug, at this point, Styles, still one of my favorite wrestlers, still can go in the ring. It almost feels, though, that his role in WWE has become that as gatekeeper to younger talent and putting younger guys over. I don't see that necessarily changing here. I don't see them changing course with Dominic at this time. Do you?
Dom is gold. I've said before that WWE has a Dominic problem. Not that he's a problem, but he is too over to be a heel. I think they try and push him back into heel territory and force it sometimes. But all that aside, nothing's changing with Dom's situation. He will walk out with the title he walks in with, and AJ will do a hell of a job putting him over and just skyrocketing this kid further.
I not only agree with you, I think that as I'm looking at this next match, I feel very similarly in how this is going to go down as I do to the Intercontinental title. And that is looking at the United States Championship match where you have the younger talent. Well, I guess actually, no, that's not the case. Solo actually is going to be younger than Jacob, but Jacob is on the come up. Solo's been around a little longer. Solo has just won that title. I know, though, this is the interesting booking here. I don't know that Solo loses clean first time around. I feel like this is way too early to blow the feud off, but because it is Jacob that's the champion, I don't feel like you can flip the title this quickly to Solo. I think there has to be some sort of DQ interference. There's something that's going to happen here that's going to protect Solo to get us another match out of this. This isn't the end of this feud, but Jacob also is not dropping that title. So I want to say Solo wins, or no, Jacob wins this one by disqualification. I don't think there's going to be anything clean.
I think that's realistic here, whether it's Cobb or they introduce some new bloodline, maybe a 7 foot tall member of the
Oh.
bloodline that's been, on what is it, Saturday nights or whatever their show that nobody watches is. Or maybe we get
That's
the
how you.
Vernons
That's how
back.
you. That's how you hide someone who's 7 feet tall. You put him on main event when no one watches.
Main event, thank you. Yes, main event. Well, you got to
Yeah,
test them out first.
I do think that they have to have a screw finish here because I don't know
Yeah.
that Jacob goes over clean over Solo. Because where does Jacob go here? Like he just did the whole "I hate you, I hate you" Solo thing. Like it's just way too early to see this come to an end. But you can't go tit for tat because Jacob's just a machine who's not. I mean, all gas, no brakes. That guy's not going backwards, not for a while.
No, not at all. No, no, and you can't really do anything to that character by having, Solo not be Solo with the pseudo bloodline or whatever he has going on right now with his tribe.
With his tribe. Yeah, I guess it is the tribe, right? It's not the OG bloodline or anything like that. I think we're past that. Could this be an opportunity for a Roman Reigns maybe to get back involved?
Could be, but I mean, it's Saudi. They like to
Exactly.
they like to do big for the crown prince. So maybe.
Doug, we're going to now talk Queen and King of the Ring. As I mentioned up top, these are double predictions because we still have a spot to fill that will happen this week.
Mm-hmm.
So part of our calculation when figuring this out is who would make the ultimate opponent for the champions. Let's start first with, because maybe that's something we should stipulate. The winner of the tournament finals goes on to SummerSlam. So you have to think, if you're getting a title shot at SummerSlam, what is more main event? Who is more main event?
So the title at SummerSlam, is it their pick? Is this like the Money in the Bank? Do they get or WrestleMania? They get a pick, right? Okay.
Yep. You pick your champion. And let's talk the Queen first. We know that Asuka is in, and thank goodness the Empress of Tomorrow has finally made her return after a year. That was nice to see. What we don't know yet is who Asuka is going to be facing off against. It will be either Roxanne Perez, who has been, let's just be clear, there's no hotter come-up wrestler than Roxanne Perez. She is having a heck of a year since they have added her to the main roster. But then, in order for her to make this final, she's going to have to go through Jade Cargill. So taking things in sequential order, Doug, Roxanne Perez or Jade Cargill, who gets this final spot against Asuka? They're both conceivable. That's the good thing, is that they put believable winners in here.
They are, but I'm thinking, I don't know that Jade can go with Asuka. This one's hard. I'm going to go Roxanne just because I think Roxanne has a lot of potential here, especially with Liv's unfortunate situation. There's a slot in Judgment Day to slide her right into because, Dirty Dom likes to play, and it pushes Dirty Dom on back to the sleazebag, heel side of things too, and forces him even more so back into that role for the time being.
I was going to go with Jade because of her headline potential for SummerSlam down the road. However, you have just piqued my interest with throwing out the fact that Liv's injury may have changed things. I think I actually agree with that Liv's injury opens up a spot for what do you do with the Dom, Liv, what do you do with the Dom, Liv, Roxanne Perez storyline? It will be hotter if she's slides on in and starts running things. And what better way to be high profile in Judgment Day than have a title match at SummerSlam? So I want to say Roxanne Perez takes it over Jade somehow, and that might have some interference from a Naomi or somebody else like that to make it happen. Or I'm going Roxanne, not just to win over Jade. I'm going Roxanne to take it all. Roxanne to be the final slot. It's going to be Asuka versus Roxanne. Roxanne, again, she has had an amazing year. The Fed is obviously very high on her. So to see her by the time we get to August, it would not be inconceivable to see her as a main eventer for WWE at SummerSlam. I'm going to go with that.
All right. Changing hearts and minds here on the Two Bros Wrestling Show with my wild armchair predictions.
Now, if you believe that Roxanne's going to take it over Jade, do you think that it's Roxanne that's going to beat Asuka if it is in fact Asuka versus Roxanne?
I think so. I like the way we're armchair booking here now, and I think so. And we've got we've got Rodriguez there to help out Roxanne if needed, and we could also fall back to like a Freebird style rules with the Women's Tag Team Championship, right? Oh no, don't need to do that. We got Roxanne Perez here. She can just slide into that spot too. It completely takes over all of Liv's things, all of it, and pushes her, straps a rocket to that girl.
So I know we are doing like 3D layers of predicting here because we're predicting who's going to get into the match, who's going to then win the match. But now I'm sitting here one level beyond that. Who does that winner choose for SummerSlam? And I'm probably just like getting chills thinking about it because Roxanne Perez versus Io Sky at a SummerSlam. Will that not be electric?
Yes, absolutely.
You talk about people that can work with whom, who can carry him. No one needs to carry anyone. Those two women could steal the entire 2 nights, which SummerSlam will be this year. Let's make that happen. So Doug and I both, Roxanne going all the way. Let's see if we're as much of an agreement when it comes to Randy Orton, because this one is very interesting. Randy's in for the King of the Ring, but who faces Randy? Either way, it's going to be face versus face because the two men we have left to determine this week are both the most recent world and or universal champions, which makes it very complicated. WWE did a very nice job of red herring us here because you can't just obviously look at this and know which way they're going to go. Is it Cody Rhodes headlining at SummerSlam? Is it Randy Orton headlining at SummerSlam, or is it Uso, who has probably been their hottest act, who kind of had the rug pulled out underneath them in order to let Goldberg slip back in the title picture? Doug, again, we'll go one step at a time here. We first need to settle things between the besties of Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes. How do you see this one shaking out?
Man, this one's tough. This one really is. I don't know because I'm already thinking I really don't want to see any of these 3 guys in a championship conversation anytime soon. Orton, Jay, or Cody, but it's got to be one of them, right? So
unlike the women where you couldn't pick because you saw them all as potential, this one you can't pick because you don't want to see any of them.
Yeah, and this is just my own personal bias. All these guys are money, especially Jay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Jay. Jay goes over Cody. Cody's a good hand, and he'll do things. He'll do the things this time around.
So I agree that Jay goes over Cody because even though I think that Cody will have a high profile match, obviously at SummerSlam, I think that his ultimate destination is back with John Cena, but I don't know that the John Cena story of the heel run that he's on ends as soon as SummerSlam because he would still have the entire fall and to finish up. And I think that we want to push this heel John Cena out just a little bit further. So I think that Jay takes it, and it's Jey Uso versus Randy Orton at Night of Champions next weekend. Doug, since we both agree on that, that's going to make this next prediction easier that we don't have that third element. But if it is, in fact, Jay versus Randy, I think it's Jay who, again, he may have had a conversation about, like, listen, we know that's early, but if you do this for us, we'll make right by you. You're going to have a monster run to SummerSlam. I think he's going to have a monster run to SummerSlam. Any more than Randy being, or like you said, Cody being a good hand. Randy doesn't need another SummerSlam headlining match. He doesn't need another title opportunity. I think if you're wanting Uso to stay where you put him at WrestleMania, you're going to have to get him back up to the main event, and that's a strong summer. He goes over Randy in my mind.
Yeah, because I think we need to reset Jay, and because his run, I expected it to last at least until SummerSlam. I didn't see a long run for Jey Uso, but not this short of a run.
Yeah.
And
not when he's the most popular guy on the show. And he is the most popular guy on the show, whether you like him or not. He really is.
Absolutely. And and we're in an era now where there's not a lot of multi-time champions. Two might be it. You get that belt twice. Don't think you're hitting those 12, 14, 15, 17 time championship runs. Not in this era anyway.
No. And, if you, again, we're having to do the chess here of the different moves. So who makes it most sense to be in this match and who makes the most sense to go on to SummerSlam?
Yes.
You just said it. Randy's one of those guys, just like a Cena, who has been champion in the double digits and probably doesn't need it as much. I don't figure that, and this for the same reason Cody, who obviously doesn't need to be facing Gunther, he needs to get back in the ring with John Cena. It just makes the most sense for Jay to run the gauntlet here, and he needs that title, and he needs to get revenge on Gunther, and the whole John Cena Cody Rhodes storyline can play out in some other fashion, and maybe even at some other time, not this place and time. Which leaves us to only one.
And then there was what we got left here. Let's see.
That is the undisputed WWE Championship match. John Cena versus the man who never wanted to accept blood money. He said a lot of nasty things about those folks who would go over to Saudi Arabia.
Something about an appendage soaked in blood money or something, and the Miz, and
now he's on his way because John says, if you want it, you're going to follow me to Saudi Arabia, and CM Punk is following to Saudi Arabia. It will be interesting because Punk has not necessarily been known in the past for his restraint. So it will be interesting if I have no doubt he'll be a good citizen as far as he's not going to cause an AEW style chaos like he did in the past. But it's also Punk, and it wouldn't surprise me if he makes some smirky online comment or some wink. Yeah, I know I'm a hypocrite. He will probably not be able to control himself over taking a dig at either the situation or at his own hypocrisy for taking this money.
Yeah.
But he's taking it.
He's taking it. Yeah. Although WWE, I've got to say, they did in a very subtle way. They did a good job of trying to at least cover him and let him say the lines of, I forget exactly what he says, but to kill this monster, I have to become this monster, some sort of nonsense like that, where I have to do the things I don't want to do in order to do this. So they kind of give him an out there and play into the psychology of Punk a little bit, acknowledging without acknowledging. I guess it's one of those for those of us who know, and you kind of get it. But still, I don't think it's enough considering all that's been said in the past.
And let's just break this down from the history standpoint of it. You're on a final run with John Cena. If you're going to do the John Cena greatest hits, the Randy Orton one may be the only one that was comparable to running back a one last time, one night only CM Punk John Cena match. They had what was absolutely in my mind, the face John Cena probably had his best feud with CM Punk 14 years ago. I mean, it just was fantastic on both men's parts. And now we get to change the dynamic a little bit as far as who is the obvious heel in this one instead of the face that everyone was tired of and the smart aleck that everyone knew was breaking the fourth wall and becoming the voice of the voiceless. All of it. There's so much history. The packages they've been able to throw together on this actually makes it feel like this has been on a collision path way longer than it actually has. They've actually put this together fairly quickly, but because they have that shared history to lean on, it definitely feels more like this has been building for a while. I'm actually looking very forward to this one. I don't know at their ages if we should expect it to be a fantastic match. I don't doubt, based on what we have seen WWE doing with John Cena's main events here lately, it will be very well constructed to protect both men, but well constructed sports entertainment, which will no doubt do just that. It'll entertain all of us.
Yes. Yeah, because this will be good. I mean, this last weekend's build up to it, I thought was some of the bestest wrestling magic I've ever seen.
I think we might even have a little more of that. I'm expecting here a little bit later on. I am in total agreement with you on that. As far as, do you think this is it? Is this one and done, or is there more matches in this with a little bit of time that Cena has left on the roster? Because I guess I should get a prediction. Cena's winning this.
Cena's winning. Yes.
Yeah.
I
don't
Cena's
see CM
winning.
Punk winning. I don't see where that takes the Cena character with so much time left before the end. Especially, I mean, it would definitely leave Cody Rhodes looking like an idiot, honestly, hanging out there to dry with like not getting his rematch and then not getting his revenge at some point. So Cena has to go over. I don't know that they don't try maybe one more Punk match out of this, but Cena's winning this one.
Cena will win. Absolutely.
Truth getting involved?
Probably, because I think
that's part of the sports entertainment part that you have to weave in there to protect the two guys who are a little older.
Yeah, well, like Truth ain't no spring chicken, but
I mean, John Cena was his childhood hero. So.
Exactly.
He's younger than John. So Cena goes over, right?
Cena goes over. Truth gets involved. I hope Travis Scott doesn't show up. Something wacky happens. Punk takes a hit with the belt with the ref's not looking because maybe Truth distracts the ref completely by accident. I don't know, but Cena goes over in a very cheating McCheater kind of way.
You did open up a can of worms for me, though, by just mentioning the specter of Travis Scott. And you said it earlier that they do tend to go all out for these Saudi shows.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a reason to think that because this is kind of a stepping stone start of the road to SummerSlam with do we get Rock or Travis Scott or something that pulls that back into focus with John Cena's story?
Yeah, I don't know. We get The Rock. Maybe I don't think so because I think the Rock is they're just kind of surgically removed. It's like they cut a tumor out that was The Rock involvement in this story, and now we just don't talk about it anymore. The patients had the tumor removed. They've gone through chemo. They've gone through radiation. The tumor's no longer there. There's no more signs of The Rock in this thing anymore. So we're not going to talk about it. Exactly. So I don't know if you want to rekindle that Rock thing because Cena's leaned heavily into the I saw an opportunity, I took it, had really nothing to do with Rock. And everything since then has been you people and it's a toxic relationship, yada yada yada. No mention of that at this point. So in the wrestling world, at least in my mind, it's over. It never happened. Rock just happened to be standing in the ring when John Cena went heel for some reason.
And if you believe some of the stuff that you read, there could be some backstage tensions between Rock and the rest of creative and some differences on how things should be done. So maybe he isn't back for a while. But his specter was raised again recently in the ring by John Cena's opponents who are bringing it up. Well, you're the one who sold your soul to the Rock, not us. Like that's been brought up by both Cody and Punk. But
yeah,
it'd be interesting to see. Cena is definitely still the man coming out of Saudi Arabia, though. We definitely agree on that.
Oh, yeah.
And with that, by the time we get to next weekend, we will know whether or not Doug and I are correct in that every championship we predicted to stay put. But we will see about who wins, where we're wrong on those, and who is our new king and our new queen. We'll break it all down on our next show, as well as what we thought of the matches themselves. Hopefully, everyone just has a nice, safe, uneventful, non-newsworthy journey to Saudi Arabia next weekend. That's the most important part of all of this. And with that, Doug, let's hit that big finish.
Let's hit that big finish.
Botch of the week.
One word, 2 syllables. Goldberg. That's all I'm saying. Goldberg. That's my botch.
I'm sorry. Did you say Oldberg? Was it
Oldberg? Oldberg works as well. Goldberg, no. Didn't want it. Didn't want it 8 months ago when they first teased it. Don't want it now. I will say this. When we were younger, Goldberg, when he first hit, it was an amazing, amazing thing. Bischoff had something here where the guy didn't talk. He came out, squash match, one right after another, because Bischoff understood how to protect this guy, how to play to his strengths, and how to completely hide his weaknesses. As time went on, they eventually just gave up on that and said, well, we don't care. It's over. We're done with it. We can't keep this going forever. They let Bill start talking. They let his matches go past 2 minutes, and it was just obvious that it just became a no. Stop it, please. And that's where I am now with this. Don't want to see this. That last whatever it was with Taker where he almost killed him in Saudi after concussing himself 7 times or whatever he did before he even got to the ring. Unnecessary. Don't want to see it now. Didn't want to see it then. I want my 90s Goldberg where he's a beast. Where he had his 100+ run and then was done.
I mean, the way he was booked in the 90s was clever on Bischoff's part. It definitely propelled WCW into that run that they had where they took it to WWE. But for me, I got tired of Goldberg 25 years ago. And I certainly don't want to see a Goldberg who barely wrestles and wasn't great in the ring, even when he did wrestle. At his age, I didn't mean to just age shame someone. We all get older.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. Look at us, right?
Yeah.
But at this point in time, do I want to see Goldberg in my ring when he wasn't good when he was young? Do I expect that he's going to be good now? It's a weird setup that they tried to start 8 months ago, and then it went away. And for that, you pull the rug out from Jay, which that's part of my botch as well, is that poor Jay Uso lost his title for this. We may not have been as high on like Jay as a main eventer, as a champion, but I will say that he had done a lot with what he had been given and had the crowd on his side. And so as someone who genuinely likes the dude, I thought you give him this opportunity and then you take it away from him only because Goldberg 8 months later decides he can now do this match and you want it to be Goldberg versus Gunther instead of face versus face. It just seemed unnecessary for Uso. I'm always happy that Gunther has a championship. I think that he definitely has a claim as the best wrestler in the world. He looks the part. Great heel champion. I just don't care about him battling Goldberg. And there was nothing that Goldberg did on Monday night that changed my mind about that at all. If anything, it just made me groan and go, yep, this is why I did not care for this. Thank you for reminding me, Bill, why this is not interesting.
Yeah,
just don't hurt Gunther.
Yeah, and that's just it. What is a Goldberg-Gunther match going to look like? Either it's a squash and Goldberg then gets the title. What happened?
Lord,
no.
No.
Or it goes more than 5 minutes and somebody gets seriously hurt.
Lord, no to that too. We don't need this to overstay its welcome. Whatever this match ends up being, if it's even passable, thank you, Gunther, for that. And that's one of the reasons why he is in there and not Jay. No offense to Jay, who is fine in the role he's given. Gunther is one of those rare talents that can make almost anyone look good. And he will be put to the test to make a 98-year-old Goldberg. Look, I'm sorry. No, we don't want this. Double botch for Doug and I on Goldberg. We may have... When we turn to the positive side of things, Doug, we may have a double performance of the week here. And if we don't, I'm going to put you in the Goldberg category and make you my botch. Come on,
All
man.
right,
It's one thing,
all
right? It's got to be one thing.
right. It's one thing, and I'm just going to wrap them together where we have match and performance, because without the match, you can't have the performance. The match, of John Cena and Ron Killings is so great, because it sets up things so well, and like George Lucas says about like Star Wars all the time, it's like poetry then, because it rhymes, because 14 years ago you have Cena, Punk in their thing, R-Truth, John Cena in the ring, Cena gets wiped out, Punk goes up and sets on the ramp and drops his pipe bomb, this legendary promo. So you have to have that match, so that Cena Ron Killings match, my match of the week, leading in to my performance, which is John Cena cutting his pipe bomb 2.0, where he calls out, it's just so great that I don't know if John's going off the cuff or he and Punk talked about this. I certainly hope he did, because if they didn't, 2 years from now in Charleston, West Virginia, Punk's going to show up and call him out when he's not even around anymore to do anything about it, and then just be like a big jerk for a couple of years in the company. But I'm
that could happen
presuming
anyway.
it could, but Cena just hits so hard and so
So hard.
so hard. It was just note for note, it's just so good.
So I keep my notes throughout the week, and I just sort of like, all right, we'll beat this. Like, oh, that's the
Right.
match. And then another match happens, like, scratch that out. So for most of this week, I had Blake Monroe and her contract signing. I mean, you want to make someone seem like a big deal coming over from the competition, forego your main event and put your contract signing in your main event spot. Show the world who doesn't maybe know because they don't watch it. This is your main event. That was definitely going to be my performance of the week. And then Friday night happened.
Man,
and
did it ever. Wow.
I'm going to say maybe, what are we calling this one? Like pipe bomb? You said 2.0, maybe the reverse
right.
pipe bomb.
Yeah.
That closing segment was just fantastic. Just jaw dropping. You got John Cena dropping curse words, some so bad that he was getting bleeped that I'm not even sure what he said. He was breaking the fourth wall. He was calling out Matt Cardona, Nick Nemeth, and Claudio Castagnoli
yes,
by their real names as real life examples of people that Punk had held back. The whole 5 microphone moves of doom.
Yes.
Promo potato salad. You're not a punk, you're a capitalist. I mean,
yes,
you were the best in the world for 7 minutes, 14 years ago. It was absolutely something I'm not even sure I thought he had in him. We were high on the turn, and we have both been a little bit like lukewarm on the execution since then. This was John Cena showing for the first time that I can cut not only a heel promo, I've just cut the heel promo that they will play as part of my highlight reel when they induct me into the Hall of Fame. It was that good. They will talk about this the way they talk about the CM Punk pipe bomb 14 years later. This one will be talked about for just as long. Brilliant all the way around.
Yes.
My match of the week, I think you're probably right. I didn't have as much in the way of action this week that wowed me as in some weeks. So I had in there because I thought it was just a nice middle of the week, middle of the show match, but I think it overperformed what it was intended to do. I will take Mark Briscoe in the ring at any given time against any opponent. Sometimes you can forget just because of his hardcore history, of his tag team history with his brother, just how good he can mesh with other people's styles. And you go in there against one of the best of all time and Okada, and the two had just a really, really fun little match on a Wednesday night. So if I say if there's one match you should go back and watch for the match, maybe go watch that one. But if you watch anything wrestling related at all this week, watch the last 20 minutes of SmackDown, and that would be all you would really need to see from the past week of wrestling.
Yeah. It's It's up there
great.
with the Cena with the Cena heel turn. This is what I expected right out of the heel turn. This kind of John Cena, not this kind of I don't know what we've got, but this has got me high on heel Cena again.
Oh, and he really, it looked like he was really enjoying himself too.
I know. And Punk, I have to give credit where credit is due. Punk laid there and took it.
He laid there for 11 minutes. He laid there
and took it. Because he had to, just like Cena laid there and took it. But 14 years ago. But yeah, Punk laid there in the ring. The camera shot is just wrestling magic.
The magic that Doug mentioned at the top of the show, definitely on full display at the end of the show on Friday night. Go watch that for certain. And then go watch Afternoon of Champions next weekend. And come see us next Sunday night live on YouTube, then on demand on our YouTube and Facebook channels as we break it all down. And that will be our live airing next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then,
go watch some wrestling. Thanks for watching. Good night, everybody.
Good night.